proof of other living gods in the Bible. Drop a bomb for this exclusive PTE Godcast where we push the envelope. Big G's, not the little ones, here to feed the little ones. What's going on, everybody?
Genesis.
I hope y'all are well. It's been a little minute, been about a week or so, but we are back, y'all. Proof of other living gods in the Bible. This is Bible scholar Dan McClellan, and he is about to, and maybe you guys will listen when he says it. I've been saying it for years and years and years now. But maybe you guys will listen when someone with his complexion for the protection who might have the right connections. And that's how our people are. They got to hear it from the man. You understand? But the Bible talks about other living gods. We were going to title this Hidden God, the Hidden Gods of the Bible. But we wanted to call it Proof of Other Living Gods in the Bible. So we're going to take a look at him breaking it down and how monotheism, the term, the phrase monotheistic, monotheism is just an identity marker, and it is rhetoric for the religion Christianity, which is not backed or predicated on the Bible. So without further ado, let's unpack this. He's going into monotheism, y'all. Let's check it out.
There is no monotheism anywhere in the Bible. Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion, and the Bible acknowledges the existence of numerous other gods from beginning to end.
That's true.
And so to the degree you understand monotheism to be the belief that no other gods exist, it is thoroughly post-biblical and builds upon first Greek philosophical ideas about what deity is, and specifically the notion that it is singular and unified and superlative. And these are primarily post-biblical innovations, but it also builds upon the idea of creation ex nihilo, which is something that developed among Christian apologists in the late 2nd century CE and is also nowhere to be found anywhere in the Bible. And the word monotheism was actually coined in 1660 by a Cambridge Platonist named Henry More.
Whoa.
And he didn't use it as an analytical framework that was applied to all the different dogmatic traditions around the world. It was used as a value judgment and an identity marker in order to exalt Christianity over any and all other religious traditions.
Wow. Now the first minute he dropped so many bombs. I mean, he came out swinging like Debo.
Beat him down, beat you down. Who else wants some?
It's Greek mythologically innovative. It's rooted in that. It was only coined about 400 years ago. The first minute already debunked. Now, the question is can he prove this in the Bible? He already proved this by giving some, and he's going to cite some extra biblical sources. But can this be proven in the Bible is the question, because that's the standard. That's the measuring stick. The Bible has the final say. The Bible is the authority in these theological matters. So let's keep going.
Because a lot of what Henry More was doing was denying monotheism to traditions like Islam and to more materialist traditions that identified the material world as the one God, and More rejected the monotheism of these traditions based on the idea that their concept of God was inadequate. So it really wasn't about the number of gods, it was about the nature of the one God. And ever since, monotheism has functioned primarily as a value judgment and an identity marker. It is not a robust analytical framework, and it is nowhere to be found in the Bible. I don't know, a lot of people will...
So it wasn't about how many gods, it was about the nature of God, being that the God of the Bible attributes himself as the omnipotent, the omniscient, the creator. Other religions, their gods do not attest or profess themselves to be that, and even some of them are not ontological, or some of them are not a person or masculine, such as Taoism and certain principles of Hinduism and Buddhism. But let's keep going.
We'll point to passages from Isaiah, I am God, and beside me there is no other. But this is not denying the existence of other gods. This is denying the relevance of other gods to Adonai's relationship with Israel, because we also see in Isaiah and elsewhere the same rhetoric put into the mouths of personified cities like Babylon and Nineveh and Moab, where they say,
no, he's correct. He's correct. In Isaiah 47, Babylon says, I am. Babylon says, I am, and there is none beside me. These are called statements of incomparability. The late Dr. Michael Heiser spoke on this before as well. So it's not to say that there's no existence of other gods, but no one can compare to the God of the Bible, right? Excuse me.
I am, and there is no other beside me. And the idea here is clearly not that these cities imagine themselves to be the only cities that exist. The idea is clearly that these cities are the only cities that matter to their constituents. Just like what we have in Isaiah is rhetoric that insists Adonai is the only God that matters to the Israelites.
For those of you who are watching who don't know what the Isaiah is, it's not... It's not a mesh of Deuteronomy and Isaiah. It's scholars believe, I don't believe this. I did a video on this as well, but some scholars believe Isaiah was written in 3 parts. The Proto-Isaiah is from chapter 1 to 39, and they believe that the man Isaiah did write that. Then chapters 40 to 56 is the Deutero-Isaiah, the second Isaiah, which they attribute to some students of Isaiah way after he died. And then from chapter 56 to 66, there's the Trito-Isaiah, the third Isaiah, attributed to some students after them. I don't take that stance, but that's why he's mentioning it like that. Let's keep going.
Or the Judahites. And it's just like how I think about the Denver Broncos. There are no other real NFL teams. Certainly not the Raiders. They are nothing. They are less than nothing. They're not a real team. That's the exact same kind of rhetoric that we see being used in Isaiah, where the author still refers to the other gods of the divine council, to the host of heaven that is marshaled out by Adonai, and none is missing. And it still refers to the primordial battles with the chaotic monster of the sea, Rahab. So we don't actually have any philosophical denial of the existence of other gods anywhere in the Bible. But what we do have is a renegotiation of the pantheon, where Adonai is more highly and highly exalted and subsumes more of the divine functionality of the other divine beings.
Right. And we're not talking about idols here. I mean actual living gods. If you were a part of Genesis, to remain in Genesis, we had to do a homework or a test on cosmic geography and the divine council. You should be very familiar with this. Let's keep going.
While those other divine beings are squished down into angelic status and further demoted to demonic status and to powers and rulers and principalities and things like that. And so we have, for instance, Paul in 1 Corinthians 10:20 quoting Deuteronomy 32:17 to the effect that what they sacrifice to idols, they sacrifice to devils and not to God, or to demons and not to God. Now, when you go to the Hebrew of Deuteronomy 32:17, there is an appositional clause where it says to shedim, which traditionally is translated demons, and not to God, comma, that is, to gods they did not know. So appositionally, the shedim are identified as Elohim, as gods.
So for those of you who went to public school like me, but I had to do a lot of studying, basically what he's saying is demons are referred to as Elohim, which is the Hebrew where we get the phrase gods. The New Testament equivalent is theos. So Elohim can mean God, powers, right? That name, word is attributed to demons. So demons are identified as gods, living demons. Paul is saying that the Gentiles are sacrificing to demons, actual entities. And the Bible refers to them as Elohim, which would be translated into English as gods. But he gave you a stratification within the rank of authority, being Yahweh or Yahweh at the top, and then the second person, the second in command, rather, of the heavenly hosts, who the world calls Christ. And then you'll have the archangels, and then you'll have regular angels, or you'll have Satan up there as well in the divine council. Then you'll have demons. Then you'll have men being gods on the earth. That's why it says rulers and don't revile the gods, being in the judges of Israel, right? So let's continue. These are all living gods. Let's keep going.
And so Paul is categorizing demons as gods, as the Greek translators of the Septuagint did, as the authors of many of the texts in the Dead Sea Scrolls did, as folks like Philo and others did. So the heavens are still replete with gods, and this is why Paul says there are many gods and many lords. And he says, but for us there is only one God, the Father. And while this can be interpreted to mean only one God exists, it's more likely what Paul intended is that for us, only one God really matters. We only care about one God, that is God the Father. And there is a lot of good scholarship that talks about this. So here are some texts that you can check out if you'd like to learn more about this. And I also helped organize and then presented at a conference on precisely this question that took place at Brown University last year. And we're working on publishing the papers from that conference. And so expect to hear more news from me about.
So I also want to talk about the correct terminology. If we're going to pick a terminology, it wouldn't be henotheism, it wouldn't be monotheism, it wouldn't be what is the other one? It's escaping my mind right now. But the correct terminology, if we wanted to put ourselves in a box and say, gun to your head, what, as far as other gods, do you believe in? The correct terminology would be monolatry or monolatrism. So the definition is, and he mentioned it, not the word, but he mentioned the concept of the stratification within these living gods. But it's monolatry, meaning monos, single, latria. Latria is worship. Latria is the Greek word for worship, but it's the highest form of worship. And so it's the belief in the existence of many gods, but with the consistent worship of only one deity. This would be the proper terminology for what the Bible speaks about from Genesis to Revelation, because there are other gods, but there's only the worship of one God, and that is God the Father. Even Christ says this in Matthew 4:10, him only shalt thou serve. That word for serve right there is latreia or latreo, Strong's G 3000. So even when we look in the Qumran caves and we look at some of the findings of the Dead Sea Scrolls, you see scroll, they call it 11Q13, also known as the Melchizedek document, because Dan McClellan, he mentioned the divine council. This also proves that there is living gods, because in the divine council, God the Father, the highest, the most high, has placed other entities, real gods, real deities, over the other nations, while he decided to pick, choose, and rule and reign over the Israelites. We'll come back to that Qumran cave scroll in a second. But where is this found, what I just said? In Deuteronomy 32:8. Now, some ancient manuscripts have the children of Israel when it says sons of Israel. But when you look in the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Greek Septuagint, the Masoretic text also says the sons, the children of Israel. That doesn't make any sense. It's not a KJV problem. It's the Masoretic textual problem. The Greek Septuagint and the Dead Sea Scrolls, let's take a look at the ESV. It says, when the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind. So when he split them up after the Tower of Babel, this is what this is talking about. He divided them. He fixed their borders. He gave them named lands according to the number of the sons of God. This will be known as the divine council. So the sons of God, they are ruling over the other nations as they are allotted their inheritance and land. That the next verse says, but the Lord is going to reign over the Israelites. The sons of God, the sons of El, they will reign over the other nations. But verse 9 says, but the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is his allotted heritage. So even with the context, we can see that the Dead Sea Scrolls in the Greek Septuagint has the proper rendition of the actual text here. When we go to this Melchizedek document, it says that Melchizedek is the leaders of God's angels in the war of heaven. This is where you get the concept of Melchizedek being the leader of the divine council. Also, too, in Exodus 20, verse 3, thou shalt have no other gods before me. If there wasn't other living gods, why would the Most High put this commandment here? It wouldn't make any sense. And we know he's not talking about idols because the next commandment is idols. The next commandment is idols. So yes, according to the Bible and what he just presented, which I would agree with him in this instance, that yes, there are many living gods in the Bible. Demons, angels, entities over other nations, but there is one Most High God. His name is Yahweh. Some will say Yahweh. Some may say Yahuwah, the Father. So I thought this would be some good edification for the body so that we could be proper in our understanding of theology instead of man-made tradition. All right? So there is no monotheism or monotheistic that doesn't exist in the sense of the number of gods or other existing gods, but rather the nature of the God of the Bible being superior to any other deities in any religion. All right? So with that, y'all, this has been Real. It's PTE Godcast, where we push the envelope. Peace, blessings. I'm out.